The regular council meeting of the Village of Armada will now come to order. Will everyone stand for the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Call roll, please.
Shaw.
Here.
Clark.
Here.
Conan.
Here.
Wallach.
Here.
Ballard.
Here.
Sledge.
Here.
Pelkey.
Here.
Approval of the agenda. What's the council's wishes, please?
President, I'll move the agenda be accepted as presented.
Support.
Moved and supported. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. At this time, the floor is open up for citizen comments. State your name for the record, and you have 3 minutes to address the council.
You're the citizen.
Oh, yeah.
I'm good, thank you. So for the planning officially?
Jeff, did you want to say?
Yeah.
The minutes now.
Go ahead.
I just wanted to take a moment. It's Jeff Yarrick, State Representative, 33rd District, which includes Armada Village and the Township, and Richmond, New Haven, Lennox, Ray, and most of Macomb Township. I just want to say thank you. A number of the council came in today to talk, and I appreciate you coming in. And I appreciate you open up your chambers to allow me to meet with residents. It's very appreciated that you allowed for that. It's a great way for me to connect with residents in my district, to see what concerns. It's sort of a comfortable place to be in the chamber and kind of talk about a lot of those issues. So again, thank you very much, and I appreciate you. I really want to see a good dialogue between cities and villages and townships and the state overall, local and state kind of working together. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for your work. Appreciate it. Anyone else at this time? If not, there will be no presentations tonight. And we'll move on to the administrative reports versus the F&B, which is Mr. Clark's department along with Matthew. We have treasurer report, code enforcement report, planning commission meeting minutes of August 5th and 19th, and the liaison reports. Mr. Clark first, please.
Since Matt, the operator, is here, I'll let him speak right now.
Okay.
Thanks, Matt.
Yep. I'd just like to start by saying, now that my feet are a little wet, I'm happy to be here in Armada and happy to continue to work with you guys. I guess I'll start with the bigger issue, the mechanical bar screen that was approved to be maintenance and inspected by Hydrodyne. It was actually done on October 1st, but I feel it's worth noting in this meeting that the inspection and maintenance appeared to look good, and however, about 2 days later, we continued having issues with the drive shear pins shearing, and right away got a hold of Hydrodyne and continuing to work with those guys to find a solution for the problem that's apparently bigger than what was able to be found by the maintenance guy. Continue to pass along photos and videos of the bar screen and maintenance or in service, and hoping that they will start working towards finding a solution quickly. Other than that, the proposal that you guys accepted for Tri-County Vector, they came in and cleaned out the 2 lift stations, got rid of all the grease, oils, and fats that were giving us issues with the floats, giving us nuisance alarms and whatnot. Other than that, we got our monthly and quarterly mercury samples. Yet to get the analysis on that, but that was accomplished according to plan. We did get a new drying oven for the lab, which is nice to get our solids quicker and more efficiently. And also on September 26th, there was a pre-bid construction meeting for the SRF project for the upgrades at the plant. And there was a good showing of contractors. Other than that, I'll probably leave the rest of that for Doug, who's up here setting road today.
He's gonna talk about that in a little bit.
Yeah.
So how long does the screen run before you're having to
It's about
finish your
every
pins?
other day
Really?
that they're being replaced.
Have you been in the room when it's gone off, or,
It's one of those things where,
I know it's
You can
loud in
just-
there, so you probably don't even notice that it quit, running.
well, it's evident when you look at it, if it's working properly or not. It's one of those things where you can't really tell that's what's causing the problem.
Right.
So that's why we're taking pictures and measurements of different things and trying to pinpoint the exact problem, or there may be multiple problems. Hydrodyne hasn't really given me any answers. They're still looking for answers themselves, but that's why I'm continuing to give them the information they're looking for to get to that the resolution to that.
Okay, I know you haven't been there a long time, but I was just wondering if we're collecting more rags than usual, or, hard to say.
It's hard to say, yeah. I guess I don't have long enough to be able to see a trend of if that may be the problem.
Yeah,
I don't think it's the rags or what we're collecting. I think it's a mechanical issue.
okay. Okay. Anybody else have any questions for Matt?
This is still under warranty, right, Steve?
What's that now?
This is still under warranty.
Yeah, they came and worked on it, and then they left, and it's still acting up, so the ball's in their court right now, and they're, like Matt said, they're trying to work on their end before they ship somebody up here to work on it, I would assume.
I advise my guys to just replace the shear pin so it's still operating. But I'd really rather us not touch it.
Right,
Because
yeah.
then it will possibly, they could put it back on us, and
Right,
right now it's all unknown, so.
but we do need it running, so we're not putting that through the system. so,
Yeah.
Okay.
Hey, Matt,
Thanks.
Go ahead. I'm Ross, the water commissioner. I want to give you a call. I want to try to track some historical flow data that you probably have
Okay.
related to what water may be going down the sewer in general, and see if you're seeing higher rates, lower rates over time,
Okay.
any anomalies.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, I got your number here, so I'll give you a yell.
Okay, cool.
Appreciate
Thank you.
that.
Anything else, Steve?
No, I'm all set. Thanks, Matt.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, you have the treasurer's report. The other reports are in there.
Mr. President, I got some days and reports.
Okay, what do you have, Ross?
All right, just a couple things here very quickly. With respect to the sesquicentennial, again, we talked about it a little bit earlier, we did have an after-action report. One of the big items that came up is a number of the people that came to that talked about the need for I guess, a more dynamic, more inclusive community website, maybe more than what we've already got, or taking what we've got, maybe broadening that. And a la social media maybe is the way to go. Michelle's shaking her head.
I won't do Facebook.
Well,
It's too negative and it's too
I don't want to
hard
talk about what we're going to do. I just, the people that
Well, if
were at
somebody
the
else wants to
meeting
take it on,
expressed
yeah.
a desire to do something more than what we've got, so that we can better advertise some of the community activities. The nonprofits can use that for some of their activities and so on. So something I'll start to look into, since it was really the issue that was brought up from an after-action standpoint. Moving on to maybe some better news, let me give you a quick bottom line on the profit and loss for the sesquicentennial. We received $7,250 in income. Our total expenses at this point were $6,656. That includes paying off all of the various bands, vendors, returning the deposits that we had, and it includes the plaque that we have yet to submit to the State Historical Society. So that amount is in the schedule of bills, which leaves us a balance of $594, which should be enough money I think to put some of the different tributes and so on that we got into picture frames and get them mounted on the wall. So that was good news that we were in the black. With respect to water, we did send out the invitation to bid for rebuilding well pump number 6. Expect the bids back by the next meeting. We'll open them at the council meeting. Finally got that going. And then I think we're in the final stages of review of the water reliability study. I think it's going to be a good study. I would encourage everybody to read it when we get it. There's some things in there that I want everybody to see. Once we get the final released, I'll draw your attention to that. But Doug, again, thanks for that. I don't know why I couldn't find it. I think it was the title.
It was buried.
It was, yeah, I was looking for the wrong title. Anyway, I do appreciate you sending that back. I've gotten through most of it today, so we should be able to finalize that pretty quickly. That's all I have, Mr. President.
Very good, thank you. Go on to general business consent agenda. What is the council's wishes, please, for the approval of the regular council meeting minutes, payment of bills, special event permit, applications for Lions Club activities?
Mr. President, I'll move the consent agenda to be accepted as presented.
Second.
Moved and supported by Cohen. Any further discussion, please? If not, all in favor, please?
Aye.
Aye, motion carried. We'll go into the old business, which is a sewer plant. Again, this is Mr. Clark's department. Did you wish to address anything more?
Well, just that we did receive 3 bids, and they're all much higher than what we had anticipated. And Doug has been working with Eagle and the bidders to work on trying to lower our price here. And I guess I'll turn it over to you, Doug, right now. He passed out some paper here for us, notes from the Eagle meeting of Monday, October 21st.
Good evening. Not quite 2 weeks ago, we took bids. We had 3 bidders, so I provide you a tabulation of their bids. We thought we'd have more. I was hoping for at least 3, but I knew that there was another company that was pretty interested, and I was surprised they didn't bid. And you never know about the bidding. Sometimes they make decisions at the last minute based on workload or other projects or whatever factors they take into consideration. So we did take 3 bids. The lowest bid is Sorensen Gross Company. We've worked with them quite a few different times. We've also worked with RCL Construction. I'm not familiar with Reliance Building, but they were out of Novi, and they seem to be a good company. So anyway, just a brief timeline and a reminder that the bonding fund limit for this project was set at $3.5 million because you have other expenses that you have incurred and will incur in addition to the contractor's cost. So 3.5 was the bonding. The engineer's estimate was right around 2.9 million. So you can see we're quite a bit higher than what our estimate was and way higher than your bond amount. So that was Wednesday. So almost 2 weeks ago we took bids. So we talked to the low bidder Thursday, got some more information from them. We got what was called the schedule values, which they have to prepare when they bid. It's just a basic breakdown of their bid cost. It's not every item, every cost, but it's basic components. So for instance, they have electrical, and it's a line item of like $500,000, and there was masonry and concrete and the various line items, and that's how they get their total. And we took a look at that. We told them out of all of that, they had almost $3 million in mechanical, which is a big line item. So we asked for a further breakdown of that, and we know who their mechanical is going to be. We know all their subs, and so That was Friday. Monday, so it was a week ago, Mike Faith and myself met with Dennis Ryan and Karen Nichols from Eagle in our office and went through a bunch of different things. Why do we think it came in at $5 million? What's the big ticket items? What kind of things can we do from both a permitting perspective from Eagle and an operations perspective from the village to reduce the price to try to get it back down toward the funding range? So attached to what I handed out today are some meeting minutes of that meeting. And we went through a bunch of different things, and I think we made pretty good headway. Actually, it was a very productive meeting. Dennis Ryan from Eagle, he's your local representative, and I will say flat out, he knows your wastewater treatment plant very well. So if he's not just an administrative office person, he's been to your plant many times. He knows some of the components of it, because we talked about different things, and he seemed to know it fairly intimately. The Eagle is very anxious to get a project going in Armada. They're quite frustrated with the village and have expressed that over the last year and a half since we've been involved, that they wanted you to do improvements to your plant, but nothing's been done. We've been working on it for 6 years now, and this is where we are. So that they have a vested interest to see this project move forward, and Karen has been very helpful on the funding side to come up with different ideas. So where we are at, so we met with Eagle on Monday. We had some more discussions internally Tuesday. I want to let you know that Mike Faith, who was at your last meeting, we talked about the bonding amount, etc. Mike is no longer with Rowe, so we're working through that. I've been your contact. Mike's been the technical person. Doug Scott is going to be the technical person. You might remember Doug. You worked with him years ago with Sue. Doug designed your water treatment plant. He's also done work at your well houses and wells. So he's pretty up to speed. He's getting up to speed on your wastewater plant, but he knows Armada pretty well. So Doug's going to help out on the technical side to fill the gap from Mike Fay. So we met Thursday, myself, Doug Scott, the project manager from Sorensen Gross, and the equipment supplier. And we had a meeting Thursday afternoon and hashed out a bunch of ideas. So what if we did this? What if we did that? Well, if you do this, then you got to do this, and came out with some pretty good ideas. That was, I got to back up a second. What you have is the results of that meeting that I issued Saturday. What I emailed out today was meeting minutes from the meeting we had with Eagle. I didn't attach those to this. So Thursday we met with the contractor, the supplier. We threw out a bunch of ideas. Friday he asked, could we summarize that for him so he could share with the subcontractors so they could kind of see what we want to do. And the point of the meeting Thursday was, okay, we know we're at 4.9 million, but what if we didn't do this? And what if we changed this material? And what if we did these other things? What's the cost associated with those items? So what I handed out today was a summary of those concepts, and I'll share with you just a couple of the big picture ones. In the proposal was to replace what would be the heart of your system, and that's your SBR. So you have 3 sequence batch reactors that are there now. They were there when the plant was basically modernized back in the 80s. They've been there. They're old. They don't work so well. There's a whole lot of new technology for them. We were going to replace all 3 of those, basically gut them, and put all new equipment in. It would bring you up to current technology today. But your plant has a much higher capacity than what you're flowing through your plant now. And while we would like to have 3 of those units out there, because then you can use one, use the second one, keep the third one if you needed it, and then rotate between the 3, you get a little longer life out of all 3 of them. You can do with 2. You can run all your flow through one, be batching the second, and vice versa, back and forth. And if you had to take one down to work on it, technically, on an average flow, one would handle the flow that you have. Because your average flow is less than half of what your plant capacity is. So you have some more capacity there. And in the future, you could add the third unit in if you needed to have more capacity or for whatever reason. So that's a pretty big ticket item. The second ticket item was, right now, you have your SBRs, and what they were talking about earlier today is your headworks for your grit removal and some of that stuff. But what we're proposing was to put a filter unit in so that the effluent comes through your treatment process, goes through another set of filters to help clean it up a little more, so that you would have a cleaner effluent coming out of your plant. The filters are a good idea. You don't have them right now, and your plant is meeting all of your criteria and your discharges. So the question was raised, what if we didn't do the filters? That saves you on a building, saves you on a bunch of mechanical, obviously electrical. The piping, we would change a little bit to make sure we piped it so that when the day comes, you add filters, you're not reworking things.
You're talking about just stubbing things out?
Yeah,
Okay.
basically. The equipment supplier raised a concern that we'll have to flesh out, and he said, well, without the filters, I can't guarantee that you would meet your permit discharge limits, because the filters are basically another insurance policy to make sure we can do that. And we said, well, okay, we hear you, but what we're trying to do is get a project going. And right now, we're $2 million over where we need to be, and that's a pretty big ticket item, so it's on the table. Let's see what those numbers come in at, and then we can have further discussions. So there's a slew of things that we talked about, simply changing the type of masonry on the proposed gallery building. You know, if we went to stained block instead of concrete with brick or whatever, it was like $20,000, $30,000. Like everything's on the table right now.
Right.
Even the backup generator, which Dennis Ryan said at our meeting a week ago, that's staying in the program. The backup generator's on this list. And Karen asked me that today, but Dennis didn't okay that. I said no, but everything's on the table right now, Karen, so we need to know what the cost is so we can have that discussion. If the backup generator costs this much money and we're trying to get a project, then maybe it's worth discussing, and we can always decide, yes, it's staying in no matter what, or, hey, that's an item that you can add later, which was my opinion. You can add a backup generator and not cause yourself a lot of rework, and doesn't have to be part of the program. So, today, I issued the meeting minutes from our meeting with Eagle. Saturday, I sent out this stuff. I talked to the mechanical contractor today. We're hoping to have some numbers back Wednesday, maybe Thursday, I'm hoping. And then based on that, we're gonna put that together in some sort of format and share it with Eagle and the village to say, okay, here's the numbers, big picture. So we were at 4.9 if we did this, and here's the savings. Here's just some bullet points on pros and cons. And gotta get the Eagle to review it, bring it back to Steve and have that discussion with the village. What do you guys think? And what does that do to bring the project on? Are we in the fundable range, or are we still above the fundable range? So that we can say, okay, we need to go down this road, or we gotta go down this road. All of us together, the Eagle, Roll, the contractor, all want this project to go. So we're very vested in it. The issue is, can we bring the price down enough to make it a project that the village wants, so the Eagle will approve, that we can afford to fund it. So I'm hoping Friday, Monday, sometime around then. I'm out of the office both those days, but we'll figure that part out. To be able to put something out that says, here's where we think we are. And early next week, we're having those discussions. Out of all that comes, okay, we went from 4.9, now we're down here, and all of us are comfortable with this. What's our next step? So if we're still within the fundable range, the next step is, okay, we got some paperwork to do with your bond company to finish that process and get the part 3 into Karen at Eagle. Part 3 was due to her on the 1st, which is Friday. She's talked to other department managers at the Eagle. They're giving us another 12 or 14 days to because I said the village's next meeting is November 8th or something,
Yeah, I don't know.
whatever that is. And we would need that meeting to do the bond resolution and have a notice of intent to award the project if we can get it on the.
It's the 11th, I think, 11th.
Yeah, November
Yeah.
11th.
Yeah,
So she's given us till like the 14th.
okay.
So Karen's worked with us pretty well. She's been the woman beating
She
on me
has.
about these dates.
Yeah,
And she is vested and she wants this thing to go. She has a plan B in mind if we're not in the $2.9 million range, so that was very good of her to work through that. Dennis, on the other hand, we gotta convince him that this is what the project needs to be. There's enough benefit to make it a project that's gonna accomplish this for the village. We know it won't be everything.
Right.
Even what we had bid out isn't everything. It's the guts of your plants with the filter building, with some piping, with some pump replacement, and a backup generator. So that's not everything. But that's $5 million, and we don't have $5 million.
I go back to him telling us, it started 1 million, then 2 million, and 3 million. And I think they need to hold to us spending 3 million, how are we back into it? You know,
That's why we gotta see the numbers. If there's any chance of doing that, that's where I'm gonna push for. If that means a backup generator, that means a backup generator. So we gotta
Well, but
see where
I-
it takes us.
what worries me is, say if we get it down to 2.9, and we take the generator out, or we take things out, how long before they come up and say, hey, you gotta put that in? I mean, will that require another
Well,
bond? Will that
what
require
Dennis
another?
talked about at our meeting a week ago was, if we don't do the filter building, or if we only do 2 of the SBRs, and whatever else we have to do, part of his permit, because he's gonna have to issue a new permit, part of those conditions might be what he termed a development agreement, which basically would have some wording from the Eagle that says, A, you have to meet your discharge permits, that's a requirement of your discharge, and B, we're not gonna approve any additional development in the village unless you're meeting the discharges, you show us you have capacity, or you do these other improvements. And so that's okay, we'll tackle that when the time comes. But right now, we gotta figure out how to get this project done,
Right.
move forward with these things, and you residents are gonna have a rate increase to absorb, and that's gonna take some time to let that wear off.
Doug, I have a question. How many tanks do we have down here? Do we have 2 or 3 tanks?
Three.
We have 3 tanks. I thought we did.
Yeah, you have 3 units right now. For functionality, you could do it in 2.
Right.
And there was also some discussion at our meeting with the equipment supplier and contractor Thursday. You know, one hybrid could be, well, instead of just doing 2 of the units and using both of them, you could upsize them a little, and it's all on the numbers. So instead of 0.15 MGD per unit, you could bump that up to 0.2 MGD per unit. So you spend a little more per unit, but then you could run your plant on 1 unit, you have the other one as a backup if you needed it. So then you can run this unit, or however they want to operate it, you'd have a little more flexibility with it. So that was a decent suggestion too, is you could change that capacity a little bit, or bump it up and do 2, you have a little more belts and suspenders thrown in there. So there were some pretty healthy discussions that we had, even to the point of, well, why do we need the new pipe gallery? Is there a way of using the existing pipe gallery? And we're not against that idea, it's just the existing pipe gallery has a lot of stuff in it already. And so when you're doing this type of work, you have to build all the new stuff around the old stuff, get the new stuff working, get it commissioned, then you remove the old stuff. So there could be a lot of labor involved working around the old stuff that's there versus running main power and plumbing to a new small building that will house all the new equipment. Because now your access is improved and you can get these big pumps and motors in without having to fight through everything that's there. So we'll see what they come back with. So we're working hard at it. It's been a pretty high priority since we took bids and trying to get over the shock of it. interesting enough, all three bidders are grouped pretty close together.
Yeah.
So it tells us that they interpreted the work right. Unfortunately, it's $5 million. But I gotta tell you that our meeting Thursday with the contractor and the equipment supplier, we had a little chat with the equipment supplier afterwards, and he's looking at this and he's shaking his head too, because the general rule of thumb is you take the cost of your equipment and you double that to account for your labor, and then you add in any of the nuances that go with it, so if you gotta do a lot of piping or whatever. And his equipment isn't all equipment, but it's most of it, and he's at just short of $1.2 million. So when you use the rule of thumb with that, you should be around $2.5 million plus, whatever else you're doing with some of the nuances, which is how we got to 2.9. But why we're at 4.9, we're all kind of like,
Between your high and your low.
Is Eagle state or federal?
state.
State.
Yeah. So they're the ones we're working with.
For years I've been reading how the communities have been dumping, at times of high waste or high water into the Clinton River. None of these towns have got fines. This summer, Candace was celebrating that they got something in to stop a flow that's been going in at various times for the last 10 or 15 years. They haven't done anything to those people. They haven't stopped development or anything.
Well, they have, and I only know of one instance because we don't work along that watershed all that much, but that's been a targeted area for the state for a while because of the beach closures. And it is, it's easier to deal with what they call point source pollution than it is non-point. So point source is like your treatment plant. It's one point contributing to the river, but we can go to that point, we can test it. And then we can find out what's going on upstream, downstream, and figure that out. And if they do enough of that analysis along the river, they can isolate things, but sometimes you can't isolate it to one point, like your treatment plant. They can isolate it to an area, and where I was working at, they isolated to an area, and they came to that community, and they had to be a township, and they said, you will provide sewers for these people. We're not asking you. And we realize that it's not your responsibility as a township, but you are going to do that, and you're gonna fix the problem, because it's a non-point source into the Clinton River, and we want that fixed, and here's your time frame to get it done.
I know Dennis. I know Lyle knows Dennis, and I know Steve knows Dennis, because we've all worked with them, and we've all busted our backs trying to cooperate. And for them to say that we've been dragging our feet, that's just not true.
Well, what they said is,
I know this thing has got dragged out.
A lot of that started with our former engineering firm that was working.
right, and
on
I
it.
think it's just how long things have been going to get to this point.
Well, that was the prior engineering firm not getting things done,
And
not you guys.
where they're at right now is they're like, don't quit on us, and I said, I'm not a quitter, I want this thing to move forward, but I'm the one that's gotta deal with you guys.
Yeah.
So I can't come to you and say, well, guess what, we gotta redo your bonding, and here's what's gonna happen to your rates, because I can't do that. And they're not doing that either, that's why Karen has a plan B, that's why they gave us, her drop dead dates are published dates that she's been reminding me of ever since we started, and now she's giving us 2 more weeks.
Right.
It's not the
She's
arsenic
trying to
thing.
work.
All these things have added money to our people that they're paying every 3 months.
They
They
are.
can't take any more.
But I'm not here to defend Eagle, and
Right, and I know that.
don't let me do that, but I will tell you what they said at our meeting. Armada should have been working on this 10 years ago. They should have been doing some of these improvements, they should have been raising their rates and generating the revenue to take care of some of these. The fact that they haven't isn't on the Eagle's responsibility. Your plant was built way back in the 80s, and you've been living off that since then. You've done emergency repair, you've done some fixes here, we've helped you with the HVAC emergency, so you've done some little things, but you haven't really done much to your plant. This is 2019.
the government doesn't always understand that when they make us do things, you know, those guys aren't worried about the arsenic in the water, but all of a sudden, this water we've been drinking,
Yeah.
I've been drinking for 70-some years, it's not good enough anymore,
Right.
now we gotta put that plant in.
Right.
So when they said, well, you should have just raised the rates more, we've been doing it to meet the programs they've asked for.
Right, and I realize they come at you from different sides, so hence the
Can,
water.
can we note though that our water discharge from our plant is not polluting the Clinton River, since you guys were
Well,
talking about that?
Yeah.
Sure,
Can
no,
we say we are not a point of
right.
problem?
You guys have met your discharge
Yes,
limits,
yeah.
which is one of the reasons why that allowed us to have the discussion about not doing the filter buildings and maybe doing 2 of your SPRs instead of all 3, because you're meeting your limits and you have been on a regular basis, so kudos to your plant and the way it's being operated, that you guys are doing well.
We had to do the drinking water fund,
DWR.
we had to put in the new wells to meet the standards for them. We had to do the arsenic treatment plant. We've been hitting our people plenty in the last 10 years.
On the water side.
Yeah, well, the thing of it is, it's the same people
I know.
saying they can only
I know.
pay
It's
so
one
much.
bill.
Same pocket.
It's only one pocket you're drawing from,
Right.
but, I tell other communities, Dave, that you're either in 1 or 2 positions. Either you just raise your rates, or you're gonna raise your rates, because the communities that have been stagnant for all those years are paying the price now. The unfortunate thing is, it's not a 3% or 5% or 10%, it's a much bigger margin. And with the whole asset management plan that started on the sanitary side and the storm side is now on the water side that Ross is dealing with, and also on the road side, and that's gonna come together. It's already being formed, and what you're going to agree to on your water asset management plan in short order is, here's what we own, here's where we own it, here's the condition of it, here's some things we've identified, here's a 5-year plan and a 20-year plan, and then the next step of that is, here's how we're gonna fund it, and then after that, it's a compliance issue. Did you do what you said you were gonna do in those 5 years? If not, why? You gotta tell us. And that is the trend right now with asset management for sanitary, storm, water, and roads. And they're all coming together under one program to help monitor that, so that this isn't in the back pocket of anybody anymore. It's out front. It's not under a rug, it's out front. You have an asset management plan that tells you the condition of your sewer, and if you have some things you gotta fix, you gotta come up with a way of figuring out how to fix them. Same with the water. Roads are the same way. You do pacer ratings now, you gotta do them every other year. You rate your roads so that you can put those charts together and you can see, are we flatline, are we degrading, or are we off the chart? So there's only 2 ways communities are gonna be. Either you just raise your rates, or you're gonna raise your rates. And that's chasing that tail all the way around on water, storm, sanitary, and roads.
Doug, when we get this done, actually, updated, in other words, sort of in full, whatever amount we're paying here, the thought of annexation, how much could we possibly take in for a number of homes, or even commercial, in other words, to make our plant sufficient?
Well, there's 2 components to that, Mr. President. There's the water side, which is more trickier for the village than the sewer side. The sewer side is, where's the flows being generated? How do we get it to the plant? Oh, that's pipes and pumps, okay, we can deal with that. Can your plant handle it? Well, we just talked about how your plant has capacity. Will you need to make other improvements? Depends on the volume and the condition of your plant and what this program ends up with. If we take the filter building out, which I'm pretty sure we're taking out, then you might end up agreeing to put a filter unit back in before you accept more flow. The water side, Armada's been tight on water since I've been here. So it will be more of a challenge for you to produce a volume of water for some other properties of any great volume. I mean, you guys have water, you have a tower that stores your water for you. So right now, you've been operating pretty well. you know, you have these small pockets of water that you found and you're drawing out of them, but you don't have a big aquifer, so that's gonna be a challenge for development.
I just don't like this idea of hold on development, because I look at it, we get more development, we can spread that cost out.
You can't,
So it's not 600 bills, maybe it's 800 bills that are
Right.
trying to cover the cost.
yeah,
But then if you immediately have to spend another $1 million to get that,
You're adding those.
it's just like, why bother doing it?
well, I think there's economics in that somewhere down the road, and I do think there is. And then there's other things besides water and sewer. If it's a annexation, pure annexation, then there's a little more tax basis that comes out of that too. Even if it's a 425 agreement where you're sharing revenue with the township, if they don't like the annexation, there's still some benefit to the village from a tax rate.
And then it is not as great as it should be the first few years anyhow.
Well, because there's a ramp-up period, you know,
Yeah,
for the housing market and all those kind of things, so. Yeah, I think it will depend on, you know, the volume that you're talking about and the impact of the treatment plant. And, you know, if we manage to figure out how to make a program work and we build it in the next year and a half and it's working well and you're not having any problem meeting your discharge requirements and your flows are similar to what they have been and we know that there's more capacity there, maybe it won't be an issue.
But I guess we've got to start somewhere, and we got to work our way down to at least getting the plant repaired and.
Yeah, otherwise, you know, you're in your crisis mode
Yeah.
all day long, and what's gonna break next and how much it's gonna cost to fix it, and all you've done is fixed one thing.
Right,
And like I said, even with this program, you're replacing the heart of it, which is very important. There's still a lot of other components in there, but let's at least get that done
Right,
and see how we run with that.
okay, well,
So legal is, they're very cognizant of our expenditures, what we have,
Oh, yeah.
and they seem to want to work with us.
Oh, yeah, because when we met
That's what I'm getting.
with Dennis and Karen, so Karen is your finance person.
Right,
So she's not a technical person, she's the finance person, and she has a game plan B, she had a game plan C if we needed $5 million. But all it is a loan. So it just means you could borrow more, which puts you further in debt and raises your rates more.
Right.
So, I mean, it's not a panacea,
Yeah.
but from her perspective. But then what we did see come to the table was from Dennis on the technical side that said, well, okay, maybe we don't need those filters because it's $5 million and they don't have $5 million. And maybe we could only do 2 of those SBR units instead of the third. He didn't say maybe we wouldn't need the generator, but that's on the list. So I'll take that beating when it comes, but right now, everything's on the table. to see what-
part of that generator is 100,000?
I think the generator probably is. Yeah, by the time you buy a big generator, that's probably 50 or 60, then you gotta wire it, and then you gotta have a concrete pad for it, and whatever else is. So it's probably.
So there's a few viable de-scoping options out there.
Yeah, that's what's on what I handed out is what we call a post addendum.
Right.
And so those are some ideas and you know, I told the contractor,
No.
everything's on the table. You're not gonna hurt my feelings over it.
Road money.
So it really comes down to what Dennis is gonna
We're not there yet.
Pretty much.
allow.
Well, and what the contractors are offering, because you might find out that if we didn't do this, we might save this much money, but then we gotta rework some things, so maybe the savings isn't as much as we thought. Well, maybe it's not, and,
Yeah.
you know, I would be delighted to come back to you to say, well, we went from 4.9 to 2.899, and here's how we're gonna do that, but I'm not confident that we can cut almost half of it out. I think we can make some pretty good cuts in it, and it's gonna involve some give and take, both from Dennis to say, yeah, I think that's a good idea, it's not what I wanted, but I think it's what we gotta live with, and then from the village to understand that, okay, if we do this, here's some repercussions for
Because
it.
Dennis is the one that we gotta please. Like, I mean, he's you know.
He's the guy that's got to.
He's the guy we gotta answer to, so if he says he's okay with it, if you get it down to 2.899, or, you know, 1, how it started, you know, then, you know, that's really all that matters, is making sure that he's okay with whatever cut
He
you
has
make.
to write the permit, but we're the ones that have to live with what we gotta do, so.
Right.
I mean, I know Dennis wants other improvements down there, but now he sees the price.
Right.
It's not a reluctance on
But
anybody's
at least he
part.
understands, you know, we were concerned that maybe he didn't understand that there's only 650 water paying, you know, water
Yeah.
bills.
No, he gets that, I mean, he's not naive about that. He just knows that your plant
Needs
is
improvement.
aged,
Yeah.
and it's aged out.
Yeah.
And before anything catastrophic happens,
Right,
you guys gotta do some work to it, and by the way, this isn't gonna be the last time you're gonna do work to it.
right,
You're gonna have to do more work to it.
Right.
So,
Okay. Well, I guess all we do is keep moving on and
yeah,
see what
and,
happens.
you know, as soon as we get the numbers that can make sense, I'll want to share it. I mean, I'm living on some time that Karen gave us, but that's gonna run out. So, anyway, it's just one more reminder on whatever it was, Wednesday?
November
The
6th, Wednesday at
6th,
9:30.
you guys have a conference call, so Steve, I remind you of that.
I'll remind
And
you.
Joe, you have to be on that, because you two are the signatories, so you have to participate. That's gonna be with the state treasury, it's mandatory, then you gotta go through, and they're gonna ask some questions and whatever. I haven't been part of it, usually the engineer stays out of that. But your bond council will be part of that. And at least for today, that's gonna be for a $3.5 million bond series.
Okay, well, thank you very much.
Sure.
Any other questions of Doug, please? It's all sort of a big heartache to us when it hits us. But,
Well, when I opened the bids, I didn't really enjoy what I looked at either. I opened the first one and I'm like, well, maybe they're just way high. And I opened the second one, I'm like, this is not good. And then the third one, it's like, oh, this is $5 million. And I don't know what to make of this.
His face was.
And like I said, the litmus test, you know, has been equipment, add a little more, and you're in the ballpark, but that's not where we're at.
It's not,
And-
no.
And we have been chasing numbers for, since your West Main Street bid a year ago, right? The prices are going up, and it's a hard thing to figure out. And then on a road project, it's even different, because it can put money in lots of different places, but, you know, there's lots of stories out there about prices, and I'll just share one quickly with you. I was out on a road project, and our observer was talking to the contractor, the concrete contractor, and was talking about the concrete coming out of, in the city. And he said, yeah, you know, we like using their plant, they do a good job, and our inspector said, well, you're paying quite a bit for your concrete. He said, well, we pay a couple of dollars more there, but we like the service we get from that company. So I said, well, okay, how much is the concrete? And he said, it's $182 a yard. I'm like, holy mackerel. I mean, we were paying $100, and I knew it went up to $120 probably 2 or 3 years ago. That's per yard of concrete, so that gets you about this much curb and gutter, but it went from 120, he was paying 182, so maybe the going rate might have been 175, but that's big.
Yeah.
And you know, we talked about asphalt prices, we had that talk a year ago, so asphalt is even higher than that, but that's the world we're living in right now today. And
Worldwide concrete shortage.
and you compound that with contractors that have more work than they can do.
Right, they don't care. That's in all the industry.
Right.
They don't care.
Get the money they can.
Yeah.
I mean, if we could address the issue, we would have been through this already if we would have had the help in engineering, which would be probably related back to 8 or 10 years ago.
Well, we would have been further along, yeah.
Yeah, we would have done it,
Right,
Yeah.
and it would have been simple. I mean, when they was talking then,
right.
you know, so of the prices then. So I think in this here, tremendously after 10 years, you know, maybe percentage-wise, it hasn't gone up. you know, it has gone up.
Oh, it has, a lot.
But, I mean, it's a lot, but I think the overall, you know, the company that we had before, they should have been let go sooner.
Yeah.
Well, live and learn.
Again, thank you, Doug.
Yeah, thanks, Doug.
Thanks, Doug.
I'd like to say it was my pleasure, but I don't like these numbers, so I can't tell you that.
We appreciate all your hard work.
Sure.
But, you know, we do like your donuts when you do bring them.
Yeah.
We brought some tonight, I
That's
think.
it. I've heard that 5 times yet
Yes.
this evening.
Yeah.
You're such a good guy, though. All righty here. West Main Street, Mr. Ballard, your department, do you have anything on that, please?
Yes, I do. I have the report from Spalding Decker on their punch list. He's got 19 of them done. He has 5 to do. That's as of 10/16. I'll go out there and take a look at it tomorrow and see how much further he's got. But the ones that he hasn't done is a crack in the concrete down to 22,846 Main Street. There's the watershed sign is missing. Still haven't found that. And clean out all the drainage structures, he has to do that yet, and gouges in the concrete curb in front of 22,535, the south side of the road. Other than that, and remove the silk fence and all the SESC measures on the site. So we still got to do that as of the 6th.
Do you remember when we met with them on that?
Yep, it was September. I want to say it was around the end of September sometime.
Well, maybe we can remind them that it's taken longer than they sort of indicated or impressed us with.
Yeah, I'll go out and see if these are done. If they are done, I'll let you know.
Yeah. Thanks, Don. Okay, next is the water feasibility analysis. Ross, do you have something on that?
Yes, I do. Council, in your packet, you've got the water treatment plant backwash detention tank options. This is a study that we had Rowe do over the last 3 months. It's a fancy title for arsenic containment, so here comes arsenic again. I think you guys all understand that we have high concentrations of arsenic in our groundwater. We pull it up at our water treatment plant and we filter it. And we've got to do something with the filters to clean them, and so we backwash those filters. And the backwash water has high arsenic levels in it, right? And we send that down to the sewage treatment plant. You've heard Steve talk about the levels of arsenic in the sludge that he's got down there. So what we're trying to do here, and we currently have a vessel that does this to a limited extent, is to allow some of the arsenic to settle out of the water before it all goes down to the sewer treatment plant. The problem is the arsenic levels are getting higher. We've got an initiative ongoing to replace some of the filters in the water treatment plant. Another initiative is to look at the containment vessel that we currently have and see if there's a better way to, is it the appropriate term, Doug, detent the arsenic?
Yeah.
Close enough? Okay. And so what this report does is it talks about the best detention option, and there's 2 components of that. One is an automated system. It's a new tank with a deeper sump that allows us to hold back some of this arsenic and meter it out to the sewer treatment plant. And the 2 options are an automated system or a valve system. The automated system, you don't have to have one of our DPW workers down there opening the valves all the time at prescribed times to let the water out. The valve system has got a lot of touch labor to it. So something in our consideration of the cost of this. I don't want to get much more into it tonight. I'll be bringing this back. It's something we've been looking at, and we've got it, phase 1 of it, I guess put quotes around that, phase 1 in the budget, which was to look at a study, which this is part of, and then look at engineering design for whatever option we came up with. And so that's in the budget for this year. And so I would ask everybody to take a look at it. And probably at the next meeting, I'll bring this back with a proposal or two as to how to move forward with this.
Hey, Ross,
Yep.
do you envision having any trouble with the rails to trails, because we're kind of going to infringe on their property?
Yeah, I have talked to, trying to remember his name now, good guy out of county, transportation department, about rails to trails, and I think I mentioned this once previously at a council meeting, for a municipal project like this, where we need access to some of the greenbelt area and have to potentially use that to dig in a containment vessel. He said, we'll work with you, there's no cost, no issues there. So that was welcome news. John Crum is the guy's name, and I've dealt with him before, maybe some of you guys have as well. So that was welcoming news, and that's probably the path that we would take forward is one of these options. We would have to dig into the greenbelt area. Doesn't seem like it's going to be a big issue though.
Okay, good.
Ross, have we heard on those filters, what they're gonna cost yet?
I haven't heard back on it. The last I heard, in fact, I was just thinking about that a week ago, and I haven't asked Ed yet, is he had heard that it was imminent, that they would be, remanufacturing of the media would be coming fairly quickly, but since then I haven't heard anything back, and it's been a month now, so I need to get back with that. Pretty confident that the media would be remanufactured and certified by a different manufacturer. The issue is, what's the price? We don't quite know. So it's probably going to be, as everything seems to be, higher than what we had expected. How much, we don't know yet. So
Good.
I'll try to get an update for you at the next meeting. Questions on feasibility?
If not, new business, approve the First Amendment to the professional lease between the Township of Armada as leaser and the Village of Armada as leasee for the public water tower. This was all formed back in, I believe, 95 with a 99-year lease. I remember I was part of it with the previous council members. And so, Ross, what do you have that you wanted to state tonight?
Yeah, this issue came up, I don't know, 6 months ago. We briefly touched upon it in council as well. That the president has indicated that it's a perpetual lease, so when it expires, it renews. It's with the township for the property that the water tower sits upon. Right? And what you see in the lease, if you've dug into it, is that it allows the fire department to use water out of the hydrant that is attached to the water tower. Now, the water reliability study that we talked about earlier, it will go into some detail about our water usage. We have, trying to think of the term here. We have
Unaccounted for.
Pardon?
Unaccounted for.
Unaccounted for is the right word I'm looking for. Accounted for water and unaccounted for water, right? And there's billed and unbilled. And so an example of accounted for unbilled water would be the water we push through the water treatment plant to backflush the filters. We're just talking about the containment vessel. So that's part of the price of doing business. We don't charge ourselves to do that, to clean those filters, and it's the right thing to do. But we also have unaccounted for water in some cases. Example of unaccounted for water is we had a water main break that was leaking directly into the sewer system, and that's kind of where I was going. Leaking into the sewer system, a significant amount of it, we don't know how much. In any case, it didn't come up through the street, so we couldn't even identify that we had a problem. We probably have others. That one we did catch. And so in coming down to talk about flow rates, I'm trying to find a way to see spikes.
Okay.
Large amounts of water coming in, and it's not rainwater, and it's like, where's this coming from? On the other hand, I need to start to tackle other uses of water. And so the fire department, township fire department, using water in emergency circumstances, pulls water out of the water tower, and we would like to account for that. They also use it for other things which are not specified in the lease. A principal use is training, which I don't think anybody has an issue with. So in trying to account for the water, we will likely meter the hydrant so that we understand what the flow is. Just like we have a meter on the water treatment plant, we know that we use 5 million gallons of water roughly a year to back flush the filters. It's a lot of water, but our unaccounted for water is higher than that. We're trying to figure out where it's going, and if somebody's using it, what are they using it for? So it's part of a process that I'm going to undertake, and the water reliability study will highly recommend that we try to track the water use, to try to nail that stuff down. So an easy fix for the water tower and the hydrant there is just to meter it. The lease talks to use of the water tower and what we can do at the water tower. It also talks to what the fire department can use the water for. What this is a simple update. It's an amendment to the lease that allows the fire department to use the hydrant for emergency purposes, such as filling up their tankers when they need to, or use it for training purposes. They'll hook a hose up and they'll train in the back, right? So I think that's a valid use, and we want to put it in there because they are using it for that, and it's not specified. On the other hand, I want to be able to put in one of the paragraphs the fact that we not only maintain and do other things at the water tower, but we will meter the water. So in effect, that's what the amendment does. Is it allows the training use, but it also indicates that we're going to meter the hydrant, which is the right thing to do. I have talked to Township Supervisor about this. He's on board, doesn't see any issues.
I do.
Go ahead.
That's a direct conflict with the covenants of the DWRF bond.
What is that?
That you're having water that you're trying to account for that's going somewhere for free.
It already allows them to use it for emergency purposes. So
But how do you address it in the bond?
well, it's the first time hearing about.
Talk to Jeff on that.
Well, we're trying to identify where the water is going in general. I think the amount of water that they're going to use for training purposes is going to be very small. And the indication is that they've already been using it for training purposes. So it's been unaccounted for. So I'm trying to account for whatever water is being pulled out of there. Right.
You do know that they have a tank inside the hall
Yes.
that they draw from for fires as well.
They do, and I understand that it doesn't work in the wintertime, it freezes up. In fact, we had that in this, because that was the desire of the chief, was to be able to fill that holding tank occasionally, but we've since taken it out because it does work in the summer, and apparently it's not critical in the winter. So that was in here and we've taken it out. So the only addition to the paragraph C in there, which is the authorized uses by the fire department, is to add training in there. So that word for training use is the addition, if you look in your paperwork. The piece that goes into the paragraph D, which is what we can do with the water tower, under the lease, adds in that we're going to meter it. So if use of the water tower water for training purposes is a violation of the bond, then yes, we need to talk about it.
And you may need to do a trade-off type thing where the township charges us on this lease and then we charge them for the water. So it's a wash.
What are they charging us on?
Like where the property, the water
On
comes
the
in.
lease, if there was
What's
a
the property?
monetary lease amount.
What's a buck, I think,
Yeah,
a
well,
year?
it is, but that may have to change to satisfy the covenants of that bond, which states no one
Okay,
gets free water.
Do you have a recommendation? Well, again,
That would be
so
my recommendation.
emergency use is not specified, so there's nothing that identifies what emergency use means, right? So.
Was this bond after 1995?
The DWRF bond, which was,
15 years ago.
yeah, 15 years ago.
So that was right when I started.
Yep.
So this 99-year lease that nobody really knew was around has been around longer than the bond's been in place. But if we're gonna,
But you're doing a new lease now.
Well, we can
well,
certainly
we're
take a look at
amending
it.
what we have, maybe just at the end, just after
You can talk to Joe.
consultation with the attorney,
And even Pat McGowan.
yeah.
Okay,
With
well,
the
let's talk
attorney
it.
and bond attorney.
At the end of the day, I think it's a smart thing to do. I think it makes sense to me that the fire department that protects us, that we're asking to protect us, has an opportunity to use a little bit of water, because I don't think it's a lot, for training purposes occasionally, right? And that could be, well, I doubt that that is under the term emergency use. On the other hand, I do want to meter the tower. I think we need to be able to account for all of the water. And so if this bond is requiring us to charge for water, then we should have done this a long time ago to track where the water was going to and what water gets pulled out of, the different conveyances that we have, right, hydrants and so on. So.
So are you gonna wanna bring this back to the next meeting?
What we'll
or you
do,
wanna
yeah,
make that?
let's pull it so we can dig into the bond, because it's kind of the first time hearing about it, that there's a stipulation in there. Let's take a look at it, and then we'll bring it back. So what I'll do is I'll get with you, Joe, because you're gonna have to point me in the right direction to who I talk to,
Yeah.
and what type of remuneration they're looking for here, right?
Yeah.
Because again, the lease cost is $1 a year.
Well, that's why I say you may have to
We pay
adjust
that.
that so that it matches whatever you meter out of those tanks.
Well, myself personally, I don't think this hydrant has actually, been used. My property's right across the road from it, and I've been over there many, many times,
Right?
and I don't agree with it.
What part don't you agree with? Because
Well,
the interim
Using
chief-
that, and if it's for a dire emergency, and if they're gonna use that fire hydrant more so in our village for one of our residents, I think it should be used.
So the disagreement is for anything other than emergency use?
Well, that's what I would say, yes.
Well, then we need to go in and we need to identify what emergency use means, because I've talked to both the interim chief before Chief Crotchy came on board and Chief Crotchy, and they both indicated that they have used it for not other than emergency use in my mind, right? So I think, I don't know that they were even aware of the lease either, right? That's part of the problem.
Well, this lease has been around, like I said, I signed it along with Reverend Farber years ago.
I got you.
So, but like I said, this lease has been around, that's a poor excuse, I think. And the thing is, it's been there, so we should know about it.
Okay, well, my objective is to meter the hydrant, so whatever gets pulled out of there, I can track it, so that I don't have, to the extent that I can account for it, unaccounted for
Ross,
water.
I don't think that much water came out of that particular hydrant myself personally.
Right.
Because that's quite a bit of water, and to
I'm not arguing with
to have
you.
it flow down a ditch to the creek or something, I don't see that,
Right.
But they're filling their truck with it. You wouldn't see it going.
Yeah,
in the
but
creek.
even if it was overflows or anything else, I don't see it.
Well, I don't know, like I say,
No flushing or anything else.
We've got, right, and I'm not even suggesting that's where the issue is. I just, right now, I can't put any number on what they pull out of that hydrant throughout the year, I can't. I've got an idea of what they pull out of water treatment plant and back flushing. As I say, I want to get with Matt to find out if he's seeing large spikes in our flows and so on. There's likely other water main breaks that we don't know about, right? Like the one that we described. So I'm trying to get a handle on where's the water going. So unless there's a math error in our calculations, we have a lot of, I can't even remember this term. Unaccounted for water. I gotta write it down. Unaccounted for water, right? That we use during the year because it shows up in what's been pumped and it's not billed for. And we don't quite know where it's going.
I think it's a good idea to meter. I mean, you don't know if they're going through 10,000 gallons or 100,000 gallons.
I have no idea, Marv, regardless of what, and I trust what you're saying, that you don't see a lot of use.
If they
Again, I
fill
don't
that
think there's a
tank
lot.
inside,
Right.
you know, I don't believe they're filling that tank inside though, Russ, is
Right.
what I'm really saying, you know, so.
Right.
Of course, you can't see the tank and, I mean, from outside.
Right,
And the times that I've been there, I never heard the tank running, other than when I see the trucks going in, you know, from even when I've seen them from the other cities or townships or whatever, go in when they was assisting on an emergency. You know,
Right.
so.
right, yeah, right now I have no idea on quantity, and that's what I'm trying to get a handle on.
They have their own wells, don't they?
They have a well,
Yeah.
and they do have the means to fill the holding tank in, you know, when the ground's not frozen. Right. And so what I'll do, let's pull this and we'll give it to Joe, we'll find out about what the stipulations of the bond is. And we'll bring it back at the next meeting and see what council wants to do. At the end of the day, I need to meter the hydrant, right? Whether we put in training use or not is a whole other thing, but I need to meter the hydrant.
I agree, that's the only way you're gonna know where the numbers are.
Right, yeah.
Right, and that's just a start. I need to find, you know, other potential sources where we're pulling water. And there may not be any, which means we've got a lot of leaks.
Well, I just don't like to add items after a 99-year lease. Naturally, if it's gonna be updated and it's costing us money, or costing them money, I mean, I think we have to be very congenial and work together on it, in other words, you know.
Oh, I
And if the
would,
covenant of the bond says
Yeah.
no free water, there's no way of getting around that. It's gonna have to be billed.
well, we gotta find out what the bond says. I don't know.
Well,
So-
just.
Okay, we'll bring this back to next meeting then, Ross, okay,
Right,
please?
right. I do want to say though that I was very pleased that we were able to sit down with the township and work well with them and work through the issue to this point, so.
All right, we'll move on to up and coming agenda items. Does the council have any?
That, what Ross just said is coming back.
Well,
That item's coming back.
Yeah, you probably have, probably the water feasibility analysis will be back. The perpetual lease will be back. The water reliability study will be back, will be in. We'll talk about that.
Okay,
That should be done
Wait, the
by-
water feasibility analysis, and then what was the other one? Water,
Water reliability study. Because we're pretty close to being done with that. I would encourage everybody to read that reliability study when you get it.
all right, good, thank you.
But you definitely want us to read this one.
Read that too. Yep, lots of reading. That's pretty straightforward. It's a good document.
All right, next is citizens' comments. Floor is open. Name for the record, 3 minutes, please. Nobody. Council comments at this time.
well, I am gonna comment because
Talk
Ross
now.
cut me off.
Sorry.
Regarding the more dynamic, more inclusive website, I take offense to that because what was put on the website regarding the sesquicentennial was the only things that I received. So there was no other
No,
information that
right.
did not go out that
Right,
I didn't put on. So
right.
if there's a problem with the website, I apologize, but everything that I received went on there in a timely manner. And, you know, I take a little bit of a personal offense to
Don't
that.
get offended.
So,
Let me rephrase this. People are asking for a more interactive website. The
I don't know
village
how-
website is pretty well locked down and it's, unless people get with you guys, you and Becky, and you have the time to put stuff up there,
we always have the time to put the things up there, but I'm not gonna open that up to just anybody to have
It's not
access to
gonna
our
be the
website.
page.
Nor would I think anybody on council would want me to do that.
Time out. Other communities have managed to do this quite well, and I've looked at some of those websites. I don't quite understand how they do it, but it seems to work pretty darn well, and the sites are very dynamic, get a lot of use.
Which would involve us having to upgrade and spend money on our website.
It probably will require an upgrade.
And a lot of communities also have a IT department, which we do not.
Right.
You know,
All I want to do.
It's only 3 of us.
All I want to do is
And
take
two
a
of us
look
are
at it.
completely not IT.
Yes, no, we're not.
Well, neither am I, right? That's why I'm having a hard time describing it. But I know there's smart people out there that can do that stuff.
Well, that's
Really,
the
it
same
would be
with
good
mine.
if the other people approached the council. These people that you're talking about, they should make those needs known.
They can. All I'm suggesting is that I would like to take a look at it and study it a little bit. There's no reason why we can't move ourselves out of the 18th century and look at other ways
Ross,
to
why
do
would you
business.
say that? That's
And-
completely erroneous.
Because,
We're not in the 18th century,
look at,
maybe the 19th.
okay, I'll give you the 19th. All I want to do is take a look at it, and we should not be afraid to look at newer ideas, newer ways of doing business.
You spent 6 months getting us into the 18th century.
In 300 years, we'll get you to the 19th century.
And the other issue, what my issue is with Facebook, is I look at other Facebook addresses that address the community. I would spend my entire waking hours trying to diffuse what people have said and correct what people have said. I do not have
Well,
the time to do
right.
that, and we do not have an IT department to do that, nor do we have a staff to do that.
Yeah.
Facebook's
So
not
if
a way to-
Facebook is somebody's, if that's your interest, if you want to
No,
take that on, that would be fine.
Look at, I want to take a look at it, and I don't want to throw it in the garbage can before we take 2 seconds and look at what's out there. I'm not suggesting it has to be Facebook. I'm not suggesting what it has to be. I just know that there's other ways to communicate, and repeatedly, I was hit up about the fact that the word's not getting out. We don't see signage, there's not a way for the village to get the information to people. I don't know what the answer is. I just want to take a look
But
at it.
that's not my website's problem. That wasn't, I mean, I put out there what was out there, and like I said, I take personal, that's because I'm the one that handles it. So I just wanted to make
Don't-
that clear.
Nobody was trashing the village website. What people were saying is there not a better way to get information out? Whether it's by
I saw a lot of people
signage
using
or
the
mailings
I
or
Love Our
whatever,
Facebook
but,
page.
you know, some of that is kind of old news. Everybody is looking today at some kind of a website, and if it's interactive and people are able to post things there.
Again, though,
community
all you
groups-
would be doing is
Monitoring it.
Yeah, monitoring it and trying to and you can't, I can't say, somebody's making these incorrect statements, I can't banish them from posting something. So those incorrect statements go out there and they're there forever. There's if that is a full-time, 24-hour-a-day job.
If the website is not set up to do that and it's community information, where's the problem? If
There
somebody,
is none, just call me and I'll put up what I can, but right now, look, if we open up the website to everyone to be able to post whatever they want on there, you will be inundated with things that are not village related on there.
And we discuss it.
I don't know.
Okay.
I'm gonna take a look at it, guys. I don't think it hurts us to take a look at it. I don't know what the answer is, but other locations seem to be able to get by it and they haven't imploded. Why do we think we're gonna implode?
Because they probably have an IT department.
I don't know.
And most of
I don't
them
know.
don't have it to where the public can post on it. It's in, like you said, it's links, it's addresses you can go to from this site, and it leads you to this site. It gives you more information specifically on that one item. But it's not something where the public can go on and post on it now, and now you don't know how to verify whether any of that is correct or incorrect.
Well, like I say, I'm not necessarily,
It's something we need to talk about in the
Yeah.
office.
I want to take a look at it because, again, I don't know how these other sites are set up, and I haven't spent a lot of time looking at them. I just know that there are sites that I have seen, and people have shown me that seem to be fairly benign and very interactive. How they get that way, I don't know. I haven't done my research on it, and I just don't want to throw cold water on it before we've taken a look.
But it will involve money because you will have to completely
Ain't nothing happening around here
your
that doesn't
website.
involve money, right? Maybe we get some interested community users that want to do something for the village, I don't know.
That's how we had our first website. So.
Didn't cost us any money, right?
It did. It did,
Yeah,
and,
well, that it did.
All right.
again,
We
we'll
get-
move on, but,
I got the concerns,
Yep.
I'm just gonna take a look, just to see how it works. We don't even know yet.
Oh, you look at it, Ross, and what are you doing with it?
I'll bring it back.
Okay, that's the end of our council comments apparently. Community events, any other community events coming?
Halloween is the 31st.
yeah,
Keep your kids safe.
It'd be the Halloween parade.
Halloween parade
This
for the
will be back
Lions.
before
Well, Miss Becky.
Yeah. It's 6 to 8,
6 to 8 for.
yep.
for the
And I think well, I know the Lions Club does the Halloween March costume parade right after at 8 o'clock.
After.
8 o'clock.
Yep,
And then the costume party is in the Lions
in the
Hall,
Lions Hall.
right after the parade.
All right, good, thank you. We don't have a closed session tonight. I'm gonna entertain a motion for adjournment, please.
Time is 8:23. I move to adjourn.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Bell. Mr. Belke. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried, meeting adjourned.